So, lads, today we're going to be talking about what again happened in the Aces and Wings game last night. And we're going to be talking about how the WNBA players themselves are doing absolutely no favors for themselves, their leagues, or future players that are looking to play the sport and play the sport at a high level, because all they're doing is sabotaging it. They're sabotaging their own money, they're sabotaging their own league, and they're sabotaging potential growth opportunities in the future. And even when retiring, they're sabotaging that potential for moving on, because obviously the bigger the WNBA is, the bigger media for the WNBA becomes, the bigger these former players are going to be as far as going on to talk shows, probably maybe even having their own, maybe even having a whole shows about the WNBA, just like there are for the NBA. But at the end of the day, the way things are going, it is not looking good, because there are more and more eyes coming onto the league. And unfortunately, it does seem like a lot of people's eyes are not looking at the positives and are not getting a good experience from this. I think a lot of these are people that are open to watching women's basketball, and I think they're going to just gravitate back towards college. So again, in that game yesterday, there were a couple of plays where I'm like, refs have got to control this. Refs have got to control this. Arika Gumboale was running on a fast break, and she literally got shoved. She got shoved in the back. It's a flagrant. It's a flagrant. Call it like it is. It's a flagrant. It is not a common foul. And again, that's the big difference. And the problem is that these WNBA players are literally being like, oh, if you want soft basketball, go to watch the NBA. And it's like, well, if people wanted to watch MMA basketball, they'd be watching the Dagestani Basketball League. Simply put, that's the case. People want to watch skill. And the annoying thing is, Arika Gumboale came out and basically talked about, she basically just said, the league's always been like this is how we've always played, nothing should change. When in reality, nobody has watched the league. Now people are watching the league, and people are annoyed with this fact. And I've seen it from an awful lot of people that this is literally what they've said. They're like, I've been bringing my daughters to these games. They love basketball. They love watching NBA. And it's like, I'm in shock looking at how they're hurting each other. I wouldn't let my daughter play basketball. And that actually makes perfect sense. Like, obviously in Ireland, there's no difference. It's like, it's the same rules everywhere. The same people referee men's and women's basketball. Everything's the same. And like, look, again, our pro league's a decent standard. It's happened in the past where WNBA players have played in Ireland in their off season. It's happened, like, there are good players. Like, there are players to the level of like a Claire Melia who, if she really wanted, it probably could have been a WNBA player. She had the talent. So it's not like the league's awful. And at the same time, men's league, nothing spectacular, but like, sure, Seventh Woods played here last year. There's been good players that have played in Ireland. And at the same time, like, just the game from a kid is refereed the same way, whether it's men's and women's. Physicality is allowed. Dirty play and violence isn't. Whereas now it's at the stage where the NBA became so far the opposite way, where no physicality was allowed. And now they're brought it back in for the playoffs. You'll see in the finals, the Celtics against the Mavs, there's going to be plenty of physicality from both sides. So you can see where they're like succeeding and where the NBA is starting to succeed, or well, the NBA has always succeeded in making the game more entertaining. And people realized completely no physicality isn't entertaining. But also, prison rules ball, which the NBA saw in the 70s and 80s, they realized, oh crap, everyone wants to watch Michael Jordan. Let's change these rules to make sure Michael Jordan succeeds. And in future guards like Allen, in these prison ball rules, and Allen Iverson doesn't succeed. A Dwayne Wade may not necessarily succeed. LeBron James, I think, would, because he's a freight train. But a Steph Curry may not. Steph Curry, because of the way he ran off screens, maybe would succeed. But a Derrick Rose would not succeed. A Ja Morant, any of these athletic guards, any of these isolation players would not have succeeded in a lot of other eras. They wouldn't have, especially guards, and they're some of the best players to watch. Guards are the most interesting players to watch in basketball, and the fact that Arika Gumboale, the single player who would benefit the most from these games being refed properly, is out here saying she doesn't want anything to change. And I get it. You don't want things to be easier. You don't want it to be seen as soft. But when these WNBA players are going out and saying this, it is harming the league. They are harming the product. They are harming their own pockets at the end of the day. They're harming their own pockets, especially if you're Arika Gumboale, because in a league that's refereed properly, that allows guard play and allows skilled guards to succeed. She might be the most skilled guard in the WNBA. It would improve her game a lot. Breanna Steward has basically come out and said this is the best league in the world, so physicality happens. Like, physicality and dirty plays are different things. We saw Asia Wilson get smacked in the face 3 times, 2 of which not being called as fouls. She got smacked in the face, got bloodied up, no foul. She then got smacked in the face again. Her hairband like goes up, her contact lens falls out, no call. Like, it is ridiculous. There are physical plays that are allowed in the sport of basketball. If you watch, and for everyone saying, oh, you're just going to be defending Caitlin Clark, you're on that side. No, nobody complained about what Lainey Hamilton did guarding Caitlin Clark, because there's physicality, it's allowed. No one really complained about what Dejanay Carrington, how she guarded Caitlin Clark, because physicality to an extent is allowed. When it becomes violent, when it becomes putting players in danger, is where you've crossed a line. And the problem is that not only do these WNBA players not realize what that line is, the problem is that for years and years and years, led by the likes of Diana Taurasi, dirty play was allowed. Dirty play had been allowed in the WNBA for 20 years. And now people are watching, more people that are a lot of basketball fans are watching, and they're like, this isn't real basketball, this is prison rules basketball. This is dirty play. And the WNBA players cannot stop digging their own grave. Genuinely. It's not even, nobody's asking. Like, nobody that's watching this is saying they want to stop physical play. What they want to stop is, they want to stop players being able to be, again, just like the Skylar Diggins situation, where, Kalia Copper winded up an elbow and smacked her in the face. And won. Like, they want competent referees. They want referees to referee the game like a basketball game. Not refereeing within the back of their head being like, no, we gotta let this be physical. The league is now doubling down on dirty play. There's a difference between physicality and dirty play. And the WNBA is almost so far beyond the line that they believe dirty play equals physicality. And that is one of the situations where you're like, where it's so annoying looking back in the NBA in like the 80s, where people praise dirty play. People look back, they're like, oh, people reminisce on this. Yeah, of course they do. Everyone looks back on literally everything in nostalgia. That is a thing in life. Everyone looks back at things with nostalgia goggles. They always do. But in reality, and I will say this, the NBA product may not, like, it went too far the other way. I get it. But as soon as they clamped down on the dirty play after the Jordan rules, like, there was no dirty play. It was a bit more physical in the 90s. It was not, basketball as a sport was not particularly dirty in the 90s. There were physical play in the 2000s. I would not call that sport dirty. I would not call it dirty. They got rid of the hand check. Suddenly, offense is key. The game's starting to spike. Obviously, it went too far the other direction. But at the same time, they never doubled down. They didn't double down on what's working. Like, in the NBA saw Michael Jordan was the golden goose. They changed the rules to make sure Michael Jordan, and not just him, players like Michael Jordan in the future, these explosive, fast guards, were able to play in a way that these were the players people wanted to watch. So they basically made it so that the players people wanted to watch were going to be able to thrive and succeed. No rule changes really affected anyone negatively other than the Bill Lambiers of the world, the non-skilled enforcers. Because a rule change that allows the game called properly does not stop Asia Wilson from being the best player in the world. It doesn't stop Breanna Stewart from being the best player in the world. What it does do is it might stop players getting hurt a little bit less. It might make players get hurt a little bit less frequently. And it might bring more eyes onto the sport. It doesn't make any players worse except for, like, no skilled goons. And I actually don't think there's that many of them in the WNBA. Not nearly as many in the WNBA as there was in the NBA when that happened. And honestly, if I was running a WNBA team with the way the rules are right now, I would have at least 3 goons on my team. Their job is just take people out. Like, if you want to win, if you could win and you don't have the talent, didn't get lucky and you're coming up against the aces, your job is just 3 people, just go out and hurt people. Because you're not going to get punished for it. Like, be blatant, because that's how bad the rules are. Honestly, I would just do that if I was GM. But we saw then how many skilled guards were huge. Like, most people's favorite players in basketball are skilled guards. And skilled guards are almost eradicated. Basically, other than spot-ups and head-down drives to the basket, other than Ogunbowale and to an extent Caitlin Clark, there's no guards looking to really create their shot off the dribble for 3. There's no flair. There's no creativity to WNBA basketball. There's good players. There's really good players. Breanna Stewart's brilliant. AJ Wilson's brilliant. There's no flair. There's no creativity. That is why a lot of people watch the sport of basketball. But that is being beaten out of players. And it's going to be beaten out of Caitlin Clark if nothing changes. It's going to be beaten out of Paige Beckers. It's going to be beaten out of Juju Watkins. Like, it is genuinely, like... I will say, it's self-sabotage. It's self-sabotage. And somebody said this, like, just because as a player you got beat up doesn't give you necessarily the right to beat up somebody else. And the longer that cycle continues, the worse the sport's going to be. And this is the first time really people are actively, and I don't mean people are actively, that non-WNBA fanatics are in droves tuning in to watch the sport. And then people aren't happy because of the not even physicality, because of the violent nature of the sport. I'm not even going to call it physicality, because there's a difference between being physicality. What AJ Wilson does on the floor is physicality. What people are doing to AJ Wilson and others is not physicality. People trying to hurt what Jonquel Jones did to Angel Reese is not physicality. What Angel Reese has done to other people by just outworking them and getting boards is physicality. Her getting chokeslammed is not physicality. Kennedy Carter hitting Caitlin Clark is not physicality. What Kalia Copper did to Skylar Diggins-Smith is not physicality. This is all from the last week. Like, this is from the last week of watching. This season's been less than a month. The season's been 2.5 weeks. It's literally been 2.5 weeks. And you've got 10, 15 examples of dirty plays. In the NBA, if there's a dirty play, it gets talked about for a week and the players get suspended. Like, I don't get it. And I'm listening to these WNBA players double and triple down. Commissioner's got to make a call. The commissioner's got to make a call, and they got to change the rules. If the commissioner wants to bow down to the players who want this game to be overly physical, because that's the way that they came into the league, they got beaten up as rookies, so they want all future rookies to be beaten up, then you see all these charter flights, all these media deals, tear them all up on the spot. Tear them all up on the spot. You see all these players in college. You know what? You might as well add, if you're these college teams, if you are college teams, maybe you go and be like, maybe, the women's game's got some money. Maybe we should offer like a 7-year, some sort of a 6 or 7 year eligibility. Oh, cool, they can do a master's, being like, okay, yeah, you can do some other postgraduate 1 year long postgraduate courses. You actually now can get 7 years of eligibility. So you can keep getting that NIL money. They can keep getting the NIL money, and all the endorsements are going to be for college other than the NBA. Obviously, the college isn't going to do that. But still, these players are going to make more money in college than they didn't do in the WNBA. Heck, maybe this 3-on-3 league that comes out in the WNBA offseason is making more money and people are watching that. Maybe we make this a 5-on-5 league. We don't put it on during the summer and we run our own thing, and surely we're going to be making more than $70,000 a year. Heck, we can just get 50 players, 5 or 100 players. You can pay, what's 100 players paying them 100 grand? 10 million? 10 million? Pay 100 grand each for 10 players, or for 10 players in each team to get 10 million. Heck, pay every player 200 grand, which is the max salary in the WNBA. What's that going to cost? 20 million for 10 teams of 10 players? And play it yourselves? You could definitely get an investor to pay that because of how much money is in it. Like, there's enough in it that they can say F the WNBA. There's so little money they're making the salaries that if it turns out college continues to boom more and more and more, it would take only a couple of players to be like, well, this isn't helping our games, this isn't helping us, this isn't helping any of us grow. This league is dying. Whereas we've proven that we can have a big audience, we've proven that we can make tens of millions of people care about us playing basketball. However, it's the WNBA that's the fault. Some of these players could easily start their own league and make more money, which is crazy thing to say, but consider how little they get paid in the WNBA, they could, which is scary, but still. Look, the league is in a position where we will see by the end of this season whether or not the WNBA is going to be successful long term. If they double and triple down and allow the bullies of the 2000s in your Diana Taurasi to bully the rookies into becoming the bullies of the 2010s, into the bullies of the 2020s, and if it all goes through into suddenly Angel Reese, Clark deciding, you know what, this whole 30-foot game, I'm sick of being beat up, I'm just going to start beating up people. You know what, this game that got me everything good in college, yeah, it's getting me beat up in this league. People don't like me. Screw it. I'm just going to turn into a robot on the court. You know what? My coach wants me to stand in the corner. I'm just going to chill in the corner. Like, who knows? Who knows? That could very easily happen. And the league is in a really good spot right now, but also a really bad spot because a lot of people are watching these games, and especially a lot of people are bringing their kids to these games. And that's where it's a bit of a worry. If I brought my kid to one of these games and watched some of the stuff that was happening to these players, I would just say, nah, we're not going to this team anymore. We're not going to watch these games anymore. There's plenty of other basketball. You can watch NBA, you can watch Summer League, the Olympics is on. There's going to be women's basketball in the Olympics that's going to be refereed properly. Go watch the Olympics. But no, I'm not watching you watch people try to fight each other. But it is what it is. It is what it is.